There's spitting, there's fighting, there's ripped jerseys, there's somebody grabbing somebody's throat. I mean, it's why you have football.
Mike Leach was one of a kind.
Well, we're going to enjoy looking in this box, and eventually we're all going to be extinct and die out. Well, that's how it ends.
You had to just marvel at the stuff this guy said.
You know, I hope there's Bigfoot. I don't think there is. The reason I don't think there is because we've found bones of dinosaurs and everything else, but we haven't found bones that I've heard of Bigfoot.
He certainly wasn't shy.
The team that wins is the one that has the most fun. You know, that crap like that. You know, all this stuff that's contaminated America where they give every kid a trophy and they don't keep score in Little League anymore.
He was the Pirate, and he'll be remembered as a college football legend. Coach Leach had just led Mississippi State to its biggest win of this year's football season, the Egg Bowl against Ole Miss. He was getting ready for a big bowl game when it happened. Here at Dolcefino Consulting, we just called Mike Leach Coach. For 5 years, we were so honored to fight for him in his battle with Texas Tech. We were forced to sue the university, not once, but twice, just to prove the university lied to its donors and students about the allegations Leach mistreated a problem player.
They didn't pay me. I mean, I don't think there's anybody that plans to work a full year and not get paid, and they're determined that nobody hears the facts of this case, and we want the records to set the record straight.
We are incredibly sad our friend the coach is gone, and we're angry he died without getting the $2.6 million Texas Tech still owes him. In Lubbock, the Red Raider Nation used its Twitter site to mourn and remember the winningest coach in school history, posting some of the coach's greatest hits when he was football coach at Tech. At Jones AT&T Stadium, they put a picture of the coach on the big screen. Swing your sword.
Have you ever heard swing your sword? You're supposed to swing your sword like this.
I think I know what the coach would say about the tributes that came from Texas Tech, the university, and it wouldn't be pretty. Look at how a lot of Texas Tech fans reacted online, quoting, "This is all disingenuous posturing until you pay the Leach family the millions they are owed. You want to honor Leach? Pay his family the money you owe him. You have an opportunity to make things right. Pay his family." We last talked to our friend the coach a few days before his tragic death. His thirst for the truth of Tech's sins had not wavered one bit.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you give in this deposition will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
It was the eve of the deposition of this woman, Charlotte Bingham, the Tech employee former Chancellor Kent Hance asked to investigate Coach Leach 13 long years ago. She no longer works for the university. In earlier text messages to me, the coach had pulled no punches of his opinion of Bingham, quoting, "She was the point person that lied for them." His last text message to me simply said, "Keep me updated." I wish I could. But we do know a lot more about the Tech conspiracy to cheat Coach Leach than we once did. Emails we've obtained in this legal fight prove Kent Hance and a few regents were plotting to fire Coach Leach regardless of what Bingham found.
Did you agree with the decision which I made?
I don't have an opinion on that because I don't know the facts.
Wait a second. She was the one who was supposedly gathering the facts. After Mike Leach hired us 8 years after his firing, we first searched for the completed investigation Tech promised its fans it was doing. Tech told us there wasn't one. Our first judge accused them of playing word games. That same judge later recused himself. Someone clearly got to him. Even in the days before his death, Charlotte Bingham was still maintaining the investigation was never completed.
When I complete an investigation, I actually look at policies and procedures, do analysis, look to see if I find a violation of policy, and I did not complete my investigation.
Well, you stopped your investigation, right?
I did not complete my investigation.
So you stopped your investigation?
You can say it however you want to say it.
Well, do you disagree with me? Did you continue the investigation?
I did not continue the investigation.
While Tech continues to hide records to this very day, in our lawsuit we obtained an email never seen before called The Leach Report, Ms. Bingham. It was ready for release to the media, you wrote. Finalized on December 31st, 2009, the day after Leach was fired. It was not released. In 4 years since our lawsuit began, the Lubbock media has chosen to ignore Tech's conspiracy to keep secrets about a man who deserves so much more after what he did for that town, that university. The Texas Attorney General has spent literally thousands of man-hours defending the university despite attempts to illegally overcharge us for public records, despite documented evidence the university illegally withheld public information. Since we know that Texas Tech was caught lying about their investigation, that they illegally withheld records, that they illegally redacted records, how does the AG's office still in good faith represent them?
Why don't you get out of here?
Excuse me?
You're going to ride we don't want to ride that lawyer with you.
Well, I'm going to ride it with you just because you said that. So we'll ask you, since you're his buddy, how in good faith does the Attorney General look Texans in the eyes when he's representing a state college that clearly has been caught lying? How do you guys do that? I mean, isn't this supposed to be the public right to know?
Mr. Dolcefino, the Attorney General's office does not comment on pending litigation.
The investigations and tips that have sprung out of the Leach investigation have proved Tech lied about sexual assaults on campus, failed to notify students about a series of sexual assaults at dormitories. Their admission of how many sexual harassment claims they claim they have is laughable. Tech hid the reports of sexual misconduct, claiming somehow they were related to the investigation into Mike Leach. Want to hear why the public doesn't like government lawyers?
The term related is very broad. It's a lot broader than relevant, and so I can't even tell you exactly what related means. Because it's very broad.
Texas Tech then tried to hide the truth about the resignation of another top official, the former president of Angelo State University, Brian May. We went to court again to force release of those records. During Bingham's sworn testimony, we showed her the one-page document we finally got after spending all that money.
There was a longer version of that report that was prepared.
It took 4 long years to get the first Tech employee even under oath in our Leach lawsuit. We once gave Tech lawyer Ronnie Wall the Crybaby of the Year award. Next to former Chancellor Kent Hance and the former regents, Leach made no bones about his feelings about the university's lawyers. Tech and their attorneys are categorically dumb, he wrote. But worse, Ronnie Wall epitomizes a public employee who cares very little about your right to know. We're here in Lubbock. Can I come look at all the Mike Leach records? I mean, it's been 13 years. Don't you guys think he has a right to see? If you were cheated out of money, wouldn't you want to see the records? This was after we learned there were still boxes of records involving the firing of Mike Leach that have still never seen the light of day. 15 boxes. Want to honor Mike Leach, Texas Tech? Release them today. There will never be another Mike Leach. The Texas legislature should honor the coach by finally shelving the 100-plus-year-old sovereign immunity law that allowed a few power brokers at the school to cheat him. Call it the Leach Act.
I think it is the most ridiculous law that we have in the entire state of Texas.
Dallas attorney Michael Hurst has fought for Coach Leach for a decade, along with lawyer Julie Pettit. They have helped us fight for the truth for 5 years, a battle that included another lawsuit against Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. It was dismissed by an appeals court made up totally of judges who graduated from Texas Tech.
Let's resolve all of this, but most importantly, let's resolve paying Coach Leach the money that he's owed by paying his family.
We fight on for Mike's family and his legacy. When I first began, I called Tech officials who cheated Mike Leach weasels for what they did to the coach. Believed it then, believe it even more now.
You call them weasels, I call it ego, narcissism, anger, and vindictiveness. This has nothing to do with morality, because if it had to do with morality, they would have paid Coach Leach. If it had to do with business ethics, they would have paid Coach Leach.
Just a few nights after the coach's death, the university released 100 records we've been asking about for years. Class act. If Texas Tech really wants to honor Mike Leach, they can do it simply by paying his widow and his children the money they owe him, plus interest, plus the hundreds of thousands of dollars Mike Leach spent over the last several years just because he simply wanted you to know the truth. In his last formal interview with me, Coach repeated something he said an awful lot. His fight was never with the Red Raider Nation.
There were great people at Tech, great players I got to work with, great coaches, but there are a few administrators at the top that are just very crooked people that chose to swindle me out of my salary for that year.